So the 122 TM might be one of the trickiest tanks that I personally have ever played. I think for a lot of people, this tank is not that difficult. Um, Even Skill for LTU has said that this vehicle is rather user friendly for people that are very casual players, right? But I want to show you guys a few replays, and if you're new to my channel, I do a lot of light tank stuff, so I'm no expert at all with mediums, with any kind of mediums. Aggressive mediums, more stealthy mediums, like sniper mediums, whatever, right? I know them, but I don't really know them as if I've played them, right? I know how to kind of counter them as a light tank player, but again, I don't really play anything but lights, and it's funny because there was a guy that was kind of insulting me as to how I was playing the 122 TM, and I messaged him after the game and I said, dude, I don't really play mediums, and I don't really play this kind of style of mediums at all, right? Like, if anything, I'd be more comfortable in something like a Borisk, right? And he was all like, he just kept saying, dude, you have this many battles, your stats are this, your stats are that, you should be a good player, you're garbage, you know, you're trash, stop making excuses. And I'm like, bro, I just told you I only play light tanks. So I mean, you can keep like trying to clown me, but what I'm telling you is, like, I don't really know how to play these tanks like I know how to play lights. So this is why, and Steel Guts and TN has always said this. I don't think he's playing much anymore, unfortunately, but he's always said that skill-based matchmaking is actually not necessarily a good thing, because if you are a player that, like me, that specializes in mostly lights, and then you go and play a heavy, yeah, you're not going to be too good in the heavy, right? Like, you kind of get it, but you kind of don't at the same time. So anyway, guys, 122 TM, this is going to be a very long video, by the way. I'm going to be showing you guys 3 replays. You can see, I'm going to go to my view just so you guys can kind of watch as we go through this video. I might do a little bit of fast forwarding. I'm just letting you guys know that. I know you don't like it, but I'll try and keep it at absolute minimum, like 4 times, or maximum, I should say, 4 times. And we're going to be on Proc, right? Proc is a really good map for light tanks. We actually light the Thunderbolt on fire there. We're just looking for easy shots. And why I tell you guys, right, going back to what I said at the beginning of this video, why I tell you guys that this tank has been really tricky for me to play is because I'm trying to play it almost as if it's a heavy, right? You cannot play this thing as a heavy. I repeat, you cannot play this thing as a heavy, at least definitely not at, you know, going against tiers that are the same as yours or higher. If you want to bully people that are maybe tier 7, or you might be able to get away with bullying tier 8, but do not at all think that you can, you know, brawl with like super heavies and stuff like that. Like, this thing just has too big of weak spots at the top, right? I have tried to face 122 TMs in light tanks, and they are, I'm just going to say, they are an absolute bitch to penetrate, right? They're really, really difficult, right? But these hatches for tanks that have decent pen, right? Like, the light tanks usually don't, but for tanks that have decent pen, like, these caps are so exposed, man, these hatches, you absolutely cannot brawl at close ranges, right? It's not like in the Lova. Like, I always liked the Lova because it had a really tiny cap up here, and it was hard to hit, and it had good accuracy, right? This gun, it's okay for brawling, right? But I'm telling you, man, like, you really should aim your shots fully. People have said in the forums that this thing can kind of snapshot, but I just don't see it, man. The Chinese gun handling is very, very funky. I always aim all my shots. You can see how I aim, take my time to completely aim my shot. We get a shot into the lower lower plate of the chieftain there, and again, like, this thing is good when you can play it from a somewhat medium distance, not close ranges. But I'm telling you, like, this thing, it will hit shots. You can see I'm trying to get the cap here. It looks like it went right through, but that's just a tiny bit of lag. I'm telling you guys, this thing is perfect for medium range to kind of long range, but you want to be like kind of on that secondary line. You can go where the heavies go. You can also go where like the brawling mediums go, or the brawling tank destroyers. But the tricky thing about this tank is that it has no freaking DPM at all. The DPM is non-existent on this tank. I think it's like 1700 with rammer. Like, that is so bad. I can't tell you guys how bad that is. It's literally like a 14-second reload for 400 alpha. And when your DPM is that bad, you really need to consider, like, using your team as support, which is more tricky than you'd think because when you're in randoms, you guys know how it works, right? It's very hard to rely on teammates. So what you have to do is play that secondary line. You play as support. You are a support tank. It's kind of like back in the old school days where you played as KV2, OI, OHO, ONI, like those kinds of tanks that hit really freaking hard, you know? If you can pen someone, or they just hit for like 200-300 in the face all the time with HE, and you didn't really have to aim the shots that well, right? So that's how this thing needs to be played, in my opinion. You guys can, you know, educate me if you want on how you played, if you've marked it. You know, I'm sure there's people that are watching this video that play this vehicle better than me, but I'm just giving you kind of like my take on this vehicle. By the way, I think I swapped this thing out. I exchanged it for like a tier 7 tank destroyer that I had or something or other, right? And I really wanted to play this thing, but it was very misunderstood, at least from me, right? Like, I really thought I could play this thing like a heavy, and you just cannot do that. The armor is really good, and it will hold up. Later on in the game, when you need to take shots, you'll bounce a good amount of shots and stuff, but this thing is not like a super heavy where you can just kind of angle and like you're impenetrable just about, right? It does have a good amount of weak spots, and again, like these hatches and stuff, the lower plate, if you're going against tanks that don't have as much pen, you'll be okay, but you really do not want to just like YOLO out in this thing. I really thought for, you know, a period of time that I could do that, and it's funny, man, because when I first started playing the tank, I kind of played it like that, and I was successful. And then as I continued playing like that, I got worse and worse at it and realized, okay, I need to just ridge poke, right? I need to ridge poke with this vehicle. I can't be doing this, like, you know, trying to out-angle enemies and stuff like that, and trying to do all this, you know, brawling, close range, hold down brawling, and close range, like angling out, right? Like side scraping. Now, if it comes down to it, right, like you need to side scrape or you need to go hold down at close range, you can do it, right? You absolutely can do it. This thing can kind of side scrape. It has pretty thick tracks, right? And it will work to side scrape. There's a little tiny weak spot. You have to angle out at like a 25-degree angle or so, you know, but there is a little bit of a weak spot, like if people hit the corner of the tank and stuff like that. You got to be careful. And again, you can see how I'm like turning the tank to try and throw this guy off. So I'm like, he's probably trying to go for the lower plate. So I'm just dancing around. And that's kind of how you can mitigate, right? I'll say, people penning you. So like you just try and wiggle and they're going to go for the lower plate. And then you get the angle on the lower plate. The effective armor becomes more and they bounce, right? And so that's the way this thing needs to be played, man. That's my tip for you guys. I figured I would give you something different, right? Because you guys see a lot of light tanks. So we watched this whole entire game on proc. I have 2 more replays to show you. Those I will probably fast forward a little bit just to show you what this thing can do. But again, especially when you're facing higher tiers, man, absolutely do not think that you can just brawl with the higher tiers, right? The tank doesn't work like that. It gets picked off too much, and if some of your teammates are dying and you're on the front lines, you have absolutely no DPM. So people need to be able to support you. If you're not getting that support, people are going to be able to poke up and get 2 shots on you, maybe even 3, depending on what their you know, reload is and their DPM. They might be able to get 3 shots into you, and by the time you can get 1, right? So like this thing is just, it's a 100% a support vehicle, and I've started playing it a lot better once I understood that and started playing it like that. Because again, 0 DPM, guys. Like, not really, but it's like 1700. It's really freaking bad, right? So that's the game on proc. Again, this is going to be a really long video. If you guys want to fast forward through it a little bit, you know, feel free, go ahead. I think I loaded that one up, so we're going to load this one. And like overall, guys, I'm not even going to show you the end plates. I have them saved, but I don't want this video to be any longer than it has to be. I'm just kind of showing you my experience playing this vehicle last weekend and why I was kind of hating myself a little bit, because it got to a point where it's like, this thing is just not working for me and I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. And then I finally understood what I was doing wrong, and people are all in the forums saying like, it's support, ridgeline poke, you know, you can kind of side scrape or go hold down if you have to, but be on the secondary line, right? Make sure people can back you up. Like they can support you while you're reloading, right? That's the biggest thing with this vehicle is you need people to be able to support you while you're reloading. If people cannot support you while you're reloading, you're SOL every time. And again, these two games are also low tier games, so obviously I'm going to be performing better in these games. And also I'd like to share, I forgot to share this at the beginning, but I am running this thing with V-Stab, the improved aiming, and rammer in this game. On the other game, I was experimenting, right? I was running it with improved rotation mechanism and stuff. I think the best way to run this is honestly with V-Stab, vents, and rammer. I think that's the way I run it now. Vents in the scouting slot, or in the first slot, and then V-Stab, and then rammer. I believe that's how I decided to run this thing. So again, we're going to be in a 6, 7, 8 game, but this is going to be on Outpost, right? And I'm going to go on 4 times. I'm not making you guys super dizzy or anything, but I'm going to go over to this hill over here. And I think this is a very good location for this tank. And you're going to see some good brawling here against lower tiers, and you're going to see where this thing is able to kind of bully lower tiers, right? So in this situation, it kind of can brawl, right? But we were also kind of hold down, and I kind of had enough support where people weren't able to press me. They should have pressed me. I think they would have been fine, but some people just don't know that this thing has no DPM. And now that I know it has no DPM, I'm very pleased that I now know that. So when I go against these things now, it's going to make my life a lot easier, because I used to think these things were ridiculously OP. Then I saw 1700 DPM and I'm like, that's some ass. I don't know how I'm going to make that work. And the reality is, guys, you just have to play support. You have to play support. So we're going to go through this replay a little bit, trying to get a shot into the Progetto here. And again, this thing just doesn't really snap that well. I don't care what people say. In my experience playing 60, 70 battles with this thing, every time I try and snap with it, I miss. It is not the T100 LT. I love the T100 LT because I swear I can turn that turret like this and just shoot someone. And the freaking reticle's like this because the dispersion is not great on the T100 LT. And it just hits like every time. It's the wildest thing, right? Like all of a sudden the gun works for me. There was a time, P43 trying to blind. There was a time where I, trying to get a shot into this guy at ricochets, fair enough, it's the T-34-3, hard turret to pen. There was a time where I played the T100 LT guys, and I swear to you, man, I couldn't hit a single shot. And now it's like every single shot I take, I'm like, how the heck did that go in? How the heck did that go in, right? So Progetto 46 is pushing in here. We're trying to stay a little bit hold down. I'm using the tree to pull up without getting lit until I fire, right? Just standard practice around foliage. This is how it works in the game. And we're waiting for the T-34-3 to poke. I think I try and go in his lower plate at an angle and I miss it. Also, I wanted to note the APCRs on this vehicle are very good, right? The average pen between 233 and 210, which whatever that is, 220 something, right? Whatever. And the shell velocity is also very good, 1368. The only thing with the APCRs I find is that they have no normalization. So I swear, like whenever you're trying to hit the side of a tank, I swear like tracks eat the thing so much. We bounce the Progetto there. And I also find with this tank, something else that really pisses me off about this tank, and maybe, again, this is just for me, but kind of on topic with me talking about the ammo, the APCRs just tend to ricochet all the time. Like, I'm always trying to get these shots into people, and I guess, again, because they don't have that normalization, which means the round comes down a little bit more, or like it's able to pen, I guess, at a little bit more of an angle. You guys can school me on that. I just know the term normalization, and I know that especially at longer distances, it means that like AP rounds are usually better than APCRs, right? But you guys let me know in the comments. I don't know as much about that, but I just know that from the phrase, right, that I guess APCRs tend to doink a little more. And that's what I find. Ricochet after ricochet after ricochet, especially when you're trying to pen side plates. It's like tracks just eat the APCR rounds all the time, man. And it's really frustrating because when you have a 14 freaking second reload, you're trying to hit someone and then you ricochet and you have to wait 14 freaking seconds, right? So that's really frustrating. So now we're in a situation where P43 and Super Chaffee are pushing me. I'm about to run away, but I don't really have great mobility. The mobility on this thing is like this, right? It's not great. I'm waiting for the P43 to come around, and now these guys are going to start coming after me, but I do have the Su-100Y back here. So I'm like, all right, he's going to support me. He has more alpha than I do. So I'm like, all right, the T-34-3 is going to be the biggest threat. So let me try and get the shot into him. He's able to hit me, but we bounce the Super Chaffee and P43. And now I'm in a situation where I'm going to start turning towards the T-34-3. And I need to fight this guy, right? I'm going to have to fight this guy, so I'm trying to kind of get away from him. He's going to be able to hit me here. I'm going to focus that shot into his lower plate and just face hug this guy. Here's where the 122 TM becomes pretty powerful, right? Is when you're face hugging people. T-34-3 is also very powerful. But I'm able to kind of, I want to go to make sure I'm in my view here. And you can see I'm going to actually take the shot at the Super Chaffee because I'm thinking that because I'm moving my turret, right, moving my gun, I'm hoping the T-34-3 will be thrown off. And here's another trick. See how I'm trying to put my reticle in the guy's gun? This is very helpful, and I'm going to pause because this is like Brawling 101. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but when you're trying to fight someone and you're face hugging them, right? The best thing for you to do is try and continue to put your gun in their gun with your reticle. Because if that happens, they're going to end up, now this would never happen in real life, right? Obviously, like, the guns can't go inside of one another, but in this game, you can actually put your gun so that it's blocking their gun, and they'll shoot your gun and they'll bounce, right? And you can see here, like, shots have doinked off the top, so maybe he's trying to also do that, and he's just, someone actually tried, it might have been him that tried to hit this shot into the cap, and it just bounced, so maybe it was lucky. But again, this is a tactic that you can use, right? You can see how I'm trying to, like, put my gun in his gun, and then I'm able to hit his, like, top plate there because I'm kind of at a good enough angle. I think the tank's tall enough where I can get the gun down a little bit, and his plate is like this, and I can get that shot in fine, right? And now I'm going to go after the P-43, right? We're able to hit him there in the turret, and then I'm just trying to wiggle my gun so that this guy cannot, you know, try and focus. He might not even have the pen to get the caps because, again, he's lower tier, right? This is a tier 6. So, like, this guy's kind of screwed. And this is where you can bully these guys because this guy's screwed, right? Like, he can't even pen me, so I'm just going to come around, clean him up, and that's where this tank is really freaking powerful when you're going against these lower tiers. But also, if you get into a situation where you can kind of face hug people and you're able to move your gun around like that and kind of make it so that people can't hit your hatch as well, like, I think another tank that's really good at this is something like the T-95. If you're able to kind of block the hatches with the gun, you just have to get creative, right? But it's possible. You can do it. And again, you're seeing where this thing can brawl. Look, bounce, 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 bounce. So I'm just showing you guys this example. We blocked 1,700 in this game. We did 3,300 damage, 356 assists. I know I didn't tell you guys what the stats were on the first game, but you can see it for yourselves. I just want to go through these videos, again, as quickly as I can to show you guys where I was able to make the thing work and where I believe that the tank doesn't work. Again, frontline brawling. But you can see we held that ridge line, and it's not like we went out and tried to brawl in that other area ahead of me, right? We just held the ridge line. We had the Su-100Y to kind of back me up there, so that was good. And we made it work, right? And we were able to hold that section down, and I think, honestly, we might have been a major reason as to why we won that game, right? I have a pretty good win rate in this vehicle, despite I would argue only playing it well for like half the games I've played in it so far. But I think I have like a 60-something% win rate in it. And I don't know, it's an example to show you guys, like, there's some light tanks that I struggle to get more than like a 55% win rate, right? But with certain tanks like this, another example is that American TS-54, right? I have like a 63% win rate in that vehicle. Now, I haven't played a lot of games. Again, I'm not a heavy player, but it just goes to show like how powerful armored vehicles are. And I feel like despite how well I know how to play lights, I have better win rates in some of these vehicles because they're just so freaking powerful, man. And if you're decent at them, you're decent enough, right? Then you can get by. So I'm actually running this thing in this game with turbo in the, see, I was really messing around with this, guys. I was running it with turbo in the mobility slot and then V-stab and rammer this time around. Now, this is a tier 8 game, right? This is a very long game, by the way. This went down to a draw. I'll just spoil it for you guys. It was a draw. But this game, man, was incredible. I thought I played very, very well, and I'm the reason that it was a draw. Like, we really played this very well, and I want to show you guys, again, I'm not trying to brag, I just want to show you where I was able to make it work, because I am handpicking these 3 replays to show you. There were games that I played very bad, guys, very bad. I tried to bite off more than I could chew. Very easy to do in the 122 TM. I'm telling you, you have so much armor, but you have no DPM. You think you can kind of get away with it, like, oh man, I got so much armor, I'm good. And then you get out there and these people are just picking off your cap and you're like, what the heck is going on? You have no DPM, they hit you 3 times to your 1, and you're just like, okay, I'm screwed. I have no support. So I can't emphasize to you guys enough, like, don't think that you can just run out there and play on the front lines, especially if you're in a 9 game, especially if you're in a 10 game, tier 10 game, right? So we're going to come up here. I'm trying to support this guy. I'm able to maybe get a shot at the charioteer. The gun depression was giving me some issues, right? I think we're able to get a shot into the T26 E4 there, right in the cap. And now I'm going to back up, right? Because the T26 E4 is pushing up, and the charioteer, I guess, was going to push up. Looks like he pulled back, but the TS-54 is also coming up. I have no DPM, so I want to get to where I can be hold down and I can be safe. Otherwise, I would stand up here and try and help the Type 59. But the reality is, like, I can't help this guy. I tried my best. I'm trying to, like, kind of help him come up a little bit more. He's just sitting here and there's nothing I can do, right? What I should have done is come up just a little bit higher. Like, I'm trying to help him get a shot into this E4, but he just got pressed, right? And I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm up here now and then TS-54 comes up, freaking double penetrates me, right? And you can't do that. That's why I'm telling you guys, like, do not play the vehicle like that. Because if I was up here, I'd be screwed. I got a 14 freaking second reload. You can hear it reloading right now, right? And now the charioteer is coming around the corner, and I need support, so I'm getting it from people behind me, right? I'm going to hit the lower plate on the TS-54, pull back immediately. I'm watching the E4 out of the corner of my eye here, and just trying to stay in between these two guys. The TS-54 isn't pushing me because I have the support behind me, right? You need to have support behind you. So here's my support, right? And also, the Type 57 is going after the E4. We missed the shot into the E4. I was able to get that shot to his side. He's not paying as much attention as I am, right? So I'm going to pull back. I want to help my Type 57. So I'm going to clean this guy up to make sure that the Type 57 keeps as much HP as possible. I'm hitting the F8 every single time I take a shot so that people know how long my reload is. Like, dude, look, 12 seconds. Don't bite off more than you could chew. I got 12 seconds on my reload. I can't help you for the next 12 seconds, right? And then you got to aim. And then the Su-130 comes out of nowhere. I load HE. He doesn't even know I'm here because I guess I went dark. I'm going to smack him with the HE. Another thing I forgot to mention, I hope you guys are watching this entire video, 62 millimeters of penetration on the HE, 515 alpha, but I will say these things are really trollish. Every time I shoot the HEs on this tank, I swear they never pen. We got lucky there. We hit him for 524 in the face, right? And now I'm going to use the tank, hold down, and try and just poke here, right? So here's the LT-432. We're able to kind of snap him there, but that was kind of a close range shot. So now he's a one-shot to pretty much everything on the map. He should be, right? Maybe not the T92, because the T92 has terrible freaking damage per shot. But we're in a situation now where we can kind of go hold down, and I want to try and support people here. So I'm going to come kind of where the Type 63 is, but I want to make sure that my hole is not like overly exposed. So you can see I'm coming way out here, trying to get render range on the 50 TP. That's the only reason that I came out so far. I load the heats. We're not going to be able to get it off in time. I should have loaded them right away. The heats are also really beneficial, guys. Another thing, okay? 299 millimeters of pen on the heats, 400 damage a shot, as always, with the main ammo. There are actually a couple tanks that have different damage on the gold rounds. The Su-100Y is one of them, right? But we have this shot on the 50 TP. We're going to take that, and the gun's behaving very well. All three of these games, the gun actually behaved very well. So the gun might not behave this well for you, right? Like, I'm just warning you guys of that because it's tricky with this tank, right? Like I said, the Chinese gunmen, I don't know, they're kind of derpy. They just feel really derpy, and that's the best term to describe the 122 TM. It just feels derpy to me, though I don't think it's awful, right? So now I'm telling people, like, look, man, let's go defend the base, defend the base, defend the base. Like, I'm hitting the defend the base thing, and we're going to start going back. Now, I've done 3,000 damage already. Right? I've had a great game. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm like, support. Like, Whirls, support. I'm talking to myself, like, dude, support. You're support. You're support. Don't be a tank destroyer, right? I also wanted to tell you guys this. Don't be a tank destroyer. Be support, you know? Tank destroyers are 100% support, right? But they're far back support. You want to be on the middle lines, all right, we're going to play with ISU. That's just the way this goes. But I want to be here because the RHM is going to be alone, right? So I kind of want to be here to guard the hill, but I want to give myself cover. It's almost like with this tank, you have to fall back more than you think you have to fall back in most situations, right? Like, I just want to emphasize this to you guys. There are tanks that you can literally just about press the W key in sometimes, right? There really, really is. There are some tanks like that. But there's not a lot of them, right? So now I'm here. I'm going to get this shot into the ISU. Unfortunately, it misses or just kind of bounces. And this is how the gun kind of behaves. It wasn't the best aimed shot because he was turning and I hit the side. I'm going to poke out again. I'm going to bounce. I'm trying to get one shot into the 122 TM. We're able to get it there. And you see how I'm angling out, right? Not giving the ISU a clean shot. We are side scraping, and we're side scraping from enough of a distance where the ISU, especially with his derpy gun, is going to have a problem trying to pen my hatch, right? So you can see he tries to go for it there. We're able to hit him there, and he bounces me in return. And I was even looking myself to see where this guy hit. And I'm not sure, to be honest. Looks like the front upper plate, right? It might have been, unless that was someone else from before. But it looks like that's where he hit. Right? And so he's likely not going to pen that. It's just the way it is from this distance, right? And the way I'm kind of angled up a little bit, like that's going to be a tough shot for him to pen. So we bounced him, right? So like this tank, like I said, like from these medium ranges, we're probably 350 meters out or something like that. Maybe 400. No, it's probably about 350 or something like that. And he just can't pen me, man. Maybe if you loaded the heat, that would have went through. He actually has APCR, so I guess the ISU is APCRs. I thought maybe it was heat. We're going to try and get this shot into the 122 TM. We're able to hit him there as he's coming through. And again, Alpha's good on this tank, right? We blocked 1,100 so far. We're at 4,100 damage, guys. And Alpha is good. So if you can stay alive, right, and kind of, again, I'm going to use the word mitigate, but you can mitigate the terrible DPM by just staying alive for a really long time in these closer games. I'm going to try and get a shot into this Borsk. I'm risking taking a shot right now from like the the ISU, or someone, but that shot would have cleaned up the Borsk, so I figured, all right, if I have to take a shot or two, like even if I lose half my HP, it might be worth it to eliminate the Borsk, because we're down 3 freaking tanks, right? So now at this point, I'm trying to just poke this corner, keep people honest is what I like to call it, right? Mile appears here. Kind of a stupid play on his part. We're able to smack him there, and nothing he can do, right? He comes around the corner. It's an easy shot for me. I could have just right-click, left-clicked him, right? Auto aim, and we're able to clean him up. So we have 2 kills, 4271 damage, and we are absolutely wrecking everyone on this team. And again, if you're able to stay safe enough, you're able to keep enough of a distance, you're able to stay hold down or have enough cover where you can kind of be hold down or kind of like side scrape out. Like we've been kind of using all of these little tactics, having support, right? Being hold down when we were up here, right? Just, you need to have support. You need to have somewhere to run or somewhere to hide so that you can mitigate that freaking terrible DPM, right? So AMX AC is here. And at this point, guys, we're going to go on 4 times. I don't want to bore you to death. We basically just sit here for most of the game. I'm trying to come out and maybe side scrape on this guy. And this is the game, right? They didn't want to push. I'm not going to push out into 5 freaking dudes over here, right? And this is the game, right? We end up just sitting here. I'm trying to find different ways to like angle out, maybe see if I can stay hold down in certain angles, see if I can find somehow an easy shot on someone that's trying to press in. And it just didn't happen, right? And there's times where it won't happen. The AMX AC is continuously trying to like look around this corner. And I'm just, again, keeping him honest is what I like to call it, making sure that this guy is not going to be able to pull around the corner and somehow spot someone in the back like the Sioux. Sioux is kind of, looks like he's behind some bushes there. And we're just holding, right? We're kind of up by HP, but yeah, all these people were in my render range, so this should be true to what the HP looks like per team. And we're up by a little bit HP, but we're also down a lot of the map, and we're down 1 tank, right? So this is basically a fairly even game. We're in defensive mode. These guys have taken, I mean, they have the whole map. Like, we literally just have this. I'm holding this. It comes down to be like 2 minutes, right? And then, I told the Even, like, just stop chatting, man, because the Even was getting really annoying. I don't like to be one of those toxic players, but he just kept, like, talking in the chat. Don't get stupid, TM. Chill. I'm like, dude, relax, man. Like, I got it, man. Don't worry about it. So 1 minute left. That's when I start getting a little bit aggressive here. I'll slow it down for you guys. You can see me like trying to angle out here, see if I can get a shot into some of these guys. And then eventually the AMX AC is just like, screw it, man. I need damage, you know. Trying to get a shot into the 122's lower plate there. It ends up hitting like the upper plate, and I guess he hits, I don't know what he hit on me. The Boris hits me from way back, like up on the hill. So I'm going to try and angle it perfectly. You see how I turned the tank like this so that I was at like a 30-degree angle or whatever? Like, you just have to know you're angling, and he bounced that one. I don't know where he tried to hit me, the lower plate or something like that. And then the AMX AC, like the last like 10 seconds, he comes around the corner here. I'll go to my view. You guys can see me. Put one shot into him. He puts like 2 into me. Whoops. I was on the free camera there. And Boris ends up cleaning me up there because I get spotted. And it is what it is, man. I mean, there's 2 seconds left. Who cares, right? But we do get some spotting on him as well there. And you can see the Boris hit me. I just angled out too much, you know. I at that point, I didn't really care as much, but I could have angled. So, again, that's a great example there. Could have definitely angled out less sharp, or however you want to say. And we probably would have been okay there to stay alive. But again, I don't really care. We did 4,700 damage, blocked 1,800, and had 500 assists. We had 2 kills here. And that's it, guys. Like, that's it. I'm not going to hold you any longer on this recording because we're at actually almost exactly 30 minutes. But I wanted to give you a really in-depth, like, this is how I do my videos now, right? If new people come to watch my content and they see like, oh, he's pausing, he's fast forwarding, like, this is how I do my content. You guys know that. I've been around for years. I do not like to just show you guys a replay and go, here, watch the replay, right? I want to talk to you guys about how I think the tank performs for your average player, how it performs for me personally, what I think the weak points of the tank are, what I think the strong points of the tank are, and that's how I play the 122 TM now. And I really like this tank. Again, I loved it at first, kind of hated it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I get it now. I get it. Like, this is how you're supposed to play it, right? So I'm trying to think of just some closing remarks, but honestly, guys, like, I'm going to sound like a broken record like I do in most videos, but just play this thing carefully. Don't run out, you know, like you're playing the freaking IS-7 like Ayuksen does and has the turbo and he's pressing the W key. Like, you can kind of do that in the IS-7. Dude, this is not a super heavy. It's not. You have to try and ridgeline poke. You have no DPM. Ridgeline poke, play support, go at close range, hold down if you absolutely have to at close range, side scrape if you absolutely have to, but ridge line poking at medium range is going to be your best bet. Play that secondary line behind the heavies, behind the mediums, whatever. And you can see 3 good examples of how I played it here. We had 3 great games, so this is where it's absolutely working. And maybe I will play a game where I play really bad and I will share that one with you so you guys can see kind of where I really messed up and where this thing is weak and where it doesn't really work, right? So that's all. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know it was a long video. Take care of yourselves. Until the next one. Bye-bye.